Hi, I'm Ed Amoroso from Tag Cyber, and I'm here with my friend Guy Caspi, who's the founder and CEO for Deep Instinct. Welcome.
Thank you, Ed. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you again. Welcome to New York City.
Thank you.
Hey, I want to ask you a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to get into the company and the technology. You guys are doing some very interesting cybersecurity work, but I want to start with you. You've had an interesting background. Why don't you share what got you into this business?
So, in my previous position as a CEO, I was, like most of the CEO, part of a breach. And I was very frustrated because the company was buying almost any security product from network to endpoint and mobile. And I said, how come we had this breach? And I realized that it's all, I'm sorry, crap. And they're selling us lies. And we have so many ransomware attacks. And, the company was almost paralyzed because we didn't pay attention to security. And I said, we have to do something. This was my personal vision about I want to change the way this industry is talking, the way this industry is implementing product, and at the top of this, of course, to prevent attacks.
Yeah. How many years? This was a few years ago.
This was 4 years ago.
4 years ago. And then you had that moment of epiphany. You decided, well, I'm going to go fix this.
Yes. This was 5 years ago, but it took me 1 year to establish the company.
Interesting. Now tell us a little bit about the company. You guys, you live in that very interesting space where deep learning and so on meets cybersecurity. Tell us about the company and what you guys focus on.
So the focus of the company is a bit different than other. I think the main vision of the company was to prevent versus the detection capabilities in the market. The company is almost 4 years ago, substantial revenues already. We are mainly active in the US. Most of our customers are Fortune 500 customers, but we do have sales also and activities around the globe in 11 other countries. And I think the claim to fame of this company is preventing APT and everything which is, I would say, unique, advanced, and unknown attacks. Yeah,
that makes sense. Now let's get into a question that I know a lot of people have. They hear the term machine learning a lot.
Yeah.
And then we hear the term deep learning, and there's even the term AI that comes up a lot. Yeah, why don't you give us a little bit of a summary of what some of the differences are? I bet there's a lot of people who don't know. Maybe you can share some insights.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I'm not familiar with any company which is not AI first. We are doing AI. Everyone like AI. It's becoming, but in the reality, really, everyone
helps the marketing brochure.
It helps the marketing brochure, but it's kind of ridiculous because everyone has some sort of AI for almost 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, there are big differences between machine learning and deep learning.
Yeah.
Machine learning algorithms, which are very good, by the way, are very limited. I would say we try to keep it for three main reasons. One, in order to address machine learning algorithms, you're processing at the maximum 5% of the data because you need to extract the features. Versus deep learning, which you are processing 100% of the data. So imagine computer vision. I'm going to get 5% of Ed, and I need to guess at the next picture who is Ed. Deep learning, I'm going to process all Ed 100%. So it will be much easier. Imagine cybersecurity, exe file. You get 5% of the exe file, which is a big noise, or 100%. This is one. The second issue is that in machine learning, you still need domain expert. So you need to extract features in order to create from this feature a vector that will go into the machine learning. This creates many problems, many mistakes, huge limitation because the amount of feature that you can extract on a daily basis, which you have, we are living in a world with 300K plus new malware a day. So you see these companies are working with hundreds and thousands of analysts to extract every day what kind of features they missed yesterday, which we need to add to the model. So this creates a lot of dependencies. Deep learning, on the other hand, it's the only family of algorithm, in my view, the biggest leapfrog in the dawn of computer science, the only family that can work on raw data. So we skip the feature extraction, plus we process 100% of the information, plus we are working on raw data. So this allowing us actually to pour on the deep learning neural network any type of file, any type of malware, anything we want to process, and allowing us to be very accurate in our predictions and false positive. Now, I'm sure this may sound like the holy grail, but and the next question is why Deep Instinct is the only company that is doing deep learning. So I would say that still, despite the tremendous success of deep learning in Google, Facebook, Microsoft, IBM for the implementation of search engine, vision, text, deep learning still, the barrier of entry is super high. You need so many PhDs, which you can hardly find them. You need to work and implement something very complex. Even if you had passed these challenges of deep learning, which is a 10 different algorithms, not like machine learning, you have 4 or 5 algorithms. Right. You need to implement this on GPUs, entirely on GPUs of Nvidia, hard-coded on the hardware. This is a very complex task. Currently, Deep Instinct is one of 10 vendors only in the world that have developed deep learning framework, which is ours. We have developed this from scratch in the company. There are some deep learning open source available in the market, like Caffe, Torch, Theano, TensorFlow. Nevertheless, they have been made by researcher for researcher. They have many dependencies, memory, efficiency, libraries. It's almost mission impossible to implement them in cyber.
How dependent is deep learning on, say, these rows of neurons that are set up in either in the cloud or on these Nvidia GPUs? Is that something that you guys are doing where there's like these rows that each, I've read the Jeffrey Hinton kind of work that lays out these massively parallel kind of algorithms. Is that consistent with the work that you guys are doing?
Yes. The development of the framework took 2 years. It's a massive, huge, billions of neurons connected with many synapses.
That's part of the secret sauce here, right?
It's the secret sauce. Yeah. And by the way, we just got a patent last week. We are the first in the world to patent deep learning implementation on cybersecurity. And actually, deep learning, it's the slowest algorithm on earth in training, but the fastest one when it comes to action. Right. So the process of training is very slow. You need lots of people, very talented people with in-depth understanding on deep learning. I name them scientists because there are some deep learning engineers in the market. We need a scientist level. It's almost, I would say it's almost an art to run and tweak a neural network. The parameters, and if you move something, it's like a billion neurons. You change all the input layer at the end. So it's complex. It takes time. But now we are in the process that everything is automated. So now it's easy. On top of this, a very unique patents that we have developed, and it's very different than the others. First of all, the other advanced, I would say, security companies are using machine learning with the cloud connectivity. With Deep Instinct, you don't need connectivity. If you speak about Google or Facebook or other, which are, I would say, very advanced in deep learning, they still use cloud. They need to ask the cloud something because the neural network is huge and you cannot bring the neural network into something small. Deep Instinct, on the other hand, it's currently the only company that filed patents, and it's already working, about how you are going to take a huge neural network and create from this a lightweight neural network, small brain that can sit on any OS without any impact on CPU, on memory, on other stuff. So this is something very unique as well. As for your question, currently Nvidia is the only GPU that can process neural network. Yeah.
Hence their stock price, which has gone up so much, right?
By the way, Nvidia are investors of Deep Instinct, and when they came into the company, the company, Nvidia stock was 60 billion and today it's 160.
Yeah.
It's all about deep learning.
Yeah. We've spent a lot of time at
Yeah.
Tag Cyber with the Nvidia folks really digging
I'm
into all
in close
of that.
contact with
Yeah.
all their management up to the CEO.
It's a fine company. Now, you mentioned earlier, you said that when you started the company, you were about prevention.
Yeah.
That's a little different. Like you and I both know that across cybersecurity, there's a lot of companies that have decided, enterprise teams, I can't stop attacks. So the best I can do is just have a really good fire department. And when the fire happens, I run and we do incident response. And we would all agree that you need amazing incident response teams. But you guys have taken a different tack. Right? You're saying you can stop and mitigate these things. Tell me a little bit about that preventive focus.
So first of all, thank you for asking this,
Yeah.
because I think this is the main difference between our philosophy and vision to the others.
Yeah.
We are saying, first, let's prevent. Let's focus on prevention.
Yeah.
And if we cannot prevent, we will provide you also response, remediations like the others. In order to prevent, currently, we are so lucky, the only algorithm that can prevent is deep learning. And why is that? Because our results, if it's a malware or a benign, is coming in less than 1 millisecond. We are x20, sometimes x50 faster than the competition. They need to go to the cloud. They need to have dynamic processes. We are static only. We have some dynamic capabilities, but they will come into action after the pre-execution. If we will not be able to pre-execute and prevent, then we have detection and all what we name some of the response and remediation capabilities. But the fact for us that detection equal prevention, because the deep learning is super fast, allowing us to prevent. And our prevention capabilities, by almost any test in the industry, which is independent, I will not drop names, but the famous independent test laboratories, we are always number one with preventions.
Yeah.
By the way, this morning, there was a new ransomware attack that was just was published in Znet this morning. This in crypto. We already block it. This morning it was published all over LinkedIn and other social media.
Yeah, which is the power of the transition from signature or even behavioral to these better heuristics. Because if you wouldn't be able to say that if it was a few years ago when we were building models of attacks and trying to match.
Correct.
Then by definition, 0 days would never be there.
Correct.
That's interesting. I love that. Now, to date, you've done most of the work as a company. Most of your commercial offerings have been on the endpoint. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that. But I know you're also extending that capability beyond endpoint to, I know your team likes to say kind of, we need to be everywhere. Help us with that a little bit.
So I think something very unique also in Deep Instinct is the fact that our product today is addressing both the endpoint, also mobile, but we are doing, of course, all the response and remediation and other capabilities. In Q1, we are going to launch a network element. So the beauty in deep learning, that the fact that deep learning is agnostic to the infrastructure, allowing us to be everywhere. Unlike the others, which are very focusing in endpoint, and I would say even Windows endpoint, not even other operating system in endpoint. We are doing everything.
Well,
Windows,
that's where all the action has been.
Yes.
Windows PCs have been
it's important.
vulnerable.
It's very important.
But you're right, there's more to
but
it.
we are looking on this as an holistic approach to provide multi-layer approach and protection in different level of the organization. And you don't need now to choose 5 companies to cover your tablet, laptop, servers, mobile phones, Android, iOS. You have one-stop shop with a very unique and robust technologies with one appliance. That's it.
So you mentioned network. Is the idea that you'd be ingesting network telemetry and doing the deep learning analysis on that? How would the network thing, and where would it run?
So network, we have 2 phases. The first phase is coming very soon in Q1, and this allow us to sit, I would say, behind the firewall
I see.
and before the email gateway. due to
collecting network traffic?
It's not a network traffic. We are going to extract everything that is going to the email gateway.
Oh, I see.
Allowing us to actually, the email is just a container.
Yeah, right.
Most of the attack are sitting in the attachments and in anything that is coming into the email. So we are going to take all this email, process them, and send to the email gateway of the organization, actually clean traffic.
That makes sense.
At the second phase, we are going to be let's say 2019, this is in research phase only, I would like to go to a DPI with deep learning and processes which are dynamically done today with deep learning. This is a very big change and innovation in the market, which hopefully will bring the same revolution we did with endpoint and mobile into the network.
The mobile technology is available today?
It's already installed in production environment here in the US in many customers.
Do you see different things between like a PC endpoint and mobile? Are the threat vectors
Yes.
different? Or is it all, it sounds like it is different?
Yes, there is a big difference between the threat vectors in APK environment on exe.pe's Office files. I would say that Windows, it's a jungle. I mean, it's about almost any vector of
People
attack.
store a bunch of crap on their Windows PCs,
Yes.
so malware knows that when it hits a Windows endpoint, you don't have to stray too far to find some interesting
Correct.
things. But on an iPhone, not so much. An iPhone is a stopping point, and you're going to find things through the credentials that are stored on a mobile. I don't have a lot of documents on my iPhone.
You're right.
So it's a little different. Right?
It's a little different.
Did I get that right?
Yeah, you get
Okay.
it right. Yeah, absolutely. But Android is also a very vulnerable OS. I mean, the amount of malware in the Android environment on a daily basis are thousands. I think, by the way, if we are talking about mobile, there is not enough I would say, understanding of the CISOs and CIO. You have thousands of employees coming to your organization every day with a Trojan horse. And they have the email of the organization on their mobile. So you secure the endpoint, and then they browse to the email from their Android phone. And, in 5 minutes, I will be in your network. Active Directory is the next step, and that's it.
Are you an open source guy? Like, do you think open source is generally the way to go? Because you're right about Android, but I would say that as Android comes down the experience curve, like I think at some point it gets to where, like Unix, when Unix was first around, it was a mess. I spent 10 years of my life, at Bell Labs worrying about Unix security, but we got it to the point where it was, with the open source, it was good. Do you think Android over time gets to where it's as sort of comfortable, people are as comfortable with it as iOS? No, you think it'll always be a little more?
The closed garden of Apple environment is something that maybe you pay price in the openness and the ability to have more application, but it is something very unique that allow Apple to reduce dramatically the attack vector.
Curate everything.
Yes.
You're only running signed software.
Correct. Nevertheless, there are slowly but gradually more and more attack on macOS and iOS. There were a few months ago a big campaign on macOS. A big campaign of I don't know from where, probably from I would say the east part of the world or North America. But there was a very big campaign that we found and we published, by the way.
East part of the world is not New York City, I assume.
No.
It's in the U.S. I got it. Hey, that sort of leads us to the future. You've been at this a while. What do you think? Are you an optimist about cybersecurity? Do you think we're getting better, or there's a lot of people come in and we interview them and they talk about, oh my gosh, we're about to head off a cliff. You think things are getting better or worse?
I don't think so. I think that the industry is under transition. The kings that ruled the cybersecurity the past 20 years are going to be, in 5 years, we will forget their names. It will be like Nokia. They became like box movers. I think the cat and mouse game slowly but gradually we are starting to contain it
Right.
with companies like Deep Instinct, but also other good companies.
Hence optimism.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I think if you have the right technology, it will never be 100% bulletproof. But if you
Absolutely
have the
true.
right technology and the right architecture, you can reduce dramatically the expose.
So in a few years, you think maybe the defense starts to catch up a little?
I
Because you
think-
would agree right now
yeah.
the offense way ahead.
I think the offense currently is way ahead.
joke
It's a
almost.
joke,
Yeah.
but I think it's related to technology that were not in place.
Yeah.
6-7 years ago, it was okay. It became mess I think, at the last 5 years.
I think you're right. I mean, that's what we do at Tag Cyber. Every day we come here and we try to push that. I think the defense can get better, and it needs
Yes.
to get better, but it's been very imbalanced to date.
Yes, today it's even, I would say, embarrassing to some companies.
Are you enjoying being the CEO of
Yes,
the company? You look
yes,
like you're
yeah,
having fun.
Yeah.
Seems like a great company to work for.
Yes, I think that it's a big challenge. I feel like we are under a war for a better world. And CEO, it's always fascinating because you touch all the topics in the world. So yes.
Well, keep doing the good work that you're doing. We need you to do it.
Thank you.
Keep us nice and safe. And next time you're in town, you come back and give us an update.
Thank you, Ed. It was
wonderful
great.
to
Thank
see
you.
Thank you
so
very
much.
And we will see you next time.